Today we're going to learn how to do a clutch up as a shorter rider. Now you might be wondering, what is a clutch up? Don't worry, no judgment here. We're going to learn exactly what it is, how we're going to implement them, and when to do them when we're trail riding. Well, Google says this: it's how you wheelie, pull clutch in, twist throttle to spike that RPM, and dump the clutch, and then the front wheel pops up. So basically, it's just lifting that front tire up with the control of our throttle and clutch. And if you're new here, hey, I'm Angelisa. I am a shorter enduro rider. I am shy of 5 feet, and all of these skills that I'm showing you on my YouTube channel over here are things that I'm learning as a shorter rider. It's not easy for me to maneuver my dirt bike because I don't have the legs, I don't have the muscle. And so some of these techniques I'm gonna be showing you today are just things that I use and I need them to maneuver my bike. Let's go. The number one important thing that I believe is the surface, the ground. Especially for us shorter riders, we don't have long legs, and so we need to find our footing. But before we talk about that, I want to also highlight the type of ground that you're going to be doing your clutch up on. So you want to look for dirt, which is best, or grassy area if you're able, if your parents allow it, your partner allows it, if they don't mind you tearing up the grass. But dirt is going to be your number one best friend when it comes to doing clutch ups or learning how to do clutch ups. You can do it on gravel, you can do it on sand. Keep in mind, it is tricky to find the traction when you are implementing this skill or this drill when you're learning. Just to avoid frustration, I would say stick to dirt for now and then move on to different types of surfaces to challenge yourself when it comes to your clutch up journey. For me, I am doing it on my grass, dirt, and you can't tell, but I have a ton of divots here that I can put my tire into. And so this is gonna be my second point under surface or ground surfaces, is finding divots to put your dirt bike into. You want your dirt bike back tire into a divot so that your left foot can rest comfortably on a hump so that you feel grounded, you feel supported and solid when you are lifting that tire up. I don't know about you, but when it comes to doing clutch ups on my tippy toes, well, I'm not solid, I'm not strong enough to bring that tire up and feel controlled. So the key for me is just finding divots, finding holes in the ground, uneven ground. I'm gonna show you an example of where my tire placement is when it comes to finding that divot. So I don't know if you can see this on film here, but my back tire is sitting lower than my front tire. That way it's going to be easy for me to rest my foot on this hump, basically where my kickstand is resting right now. If you ever watch me practicing this drill, I am always scouting where I can do my clutch ups because I need to rest my foot, my left foot down when I'm implementing this technique. All right, so you can see here, I am flat-footed, I feel solid, I feel grounded, and I have a good attack position when I'm about to bring that tire up. The last thing I want to do is be in a hole or flat ground. And see, I'm already on my tippy toe. My butt is hanging onto the left. I want to make sure that my right foot is over my back brake and on that peg to give me the traction to drive that front wheel up. But if I'm not feeling solid here, I'm not going to be feeling solid on the bars. So we're going to find that hole where our back tire can sit nicely and we have good footing on the surface. Let's drive that forward. All right. So I'm good here. I feel solid, I feel strong, and I'm ready to do a clutch up. Number 2 is where we're going to focus on finding our clutch engagement when it comes to your clutch lever and twisting the throttle, having steady throttle, getting those RPMs slightly high. I don't know what RPMs you need to be at. I listen to it, which is also a key tip, is listening. You don't want to be pinning it full throttle wide open. Just a steady, consistent throttle, and play with your clutch lever to find that sweet spot, to find that engagement point just before your dirt bike wants to drive forward. So I'm going to turn on my dirt bike. You want to be in first gear here, and I have a steady throttle. I'm going to let out my clutch. I always have my right foot over my back brake, right? Hovering, and I want to be on that peg. Okay, so I'm going to give it slight throttle, and I'm going to let out my clutch, and it wants to drive forward. I'm going to pull my clutch in, so I go back, and let's do that again. Now we're going to do this a few times so we can find that engagement. Let go of that throttle if you need to, and start again. Okay. Let it out slow, pull it in slow, let out, pull in, let out, pull in. Okay, every clutch is going to be different, so your clutch engagement might be closest to the bar, or it might be like just at the top where it's fully out. So find that sweet spot. Basically, you want to pull in your clutch to stop your bike from driving. You let go of the clutch to drive that bike forward, all with the throttle. The quicker you let out your clutch, the quicker your bike's going to want to drive forward. I'll give you an example here as well, just so you can see what I mean. So this is a slow release, right? Where I'm slowly going forward, and this is a quick release. See how my bike just jumped there? Because I let out that clutch fast, so you can go slow, right, or quick. But just be quick on that clutch to bring it back in so it doesn't pop up, but you always want to rest your back foot on the back brake, just in case it does, and you can always slam on it or tap it to bring that front tire down. Number 3 is a power clutch up. This is what I call it. I'm not sure if it has a name, but basically we are doing a clutch up with just the throttle and the clutch. Now that you've got used to using those RPMs, having a steady throttle, finding that engagement point, we're basically going to lift our tire slightly. It can be ½ inch, 2 inches. It doesn't need to be a massive tire lift, but we're getting used to lifting that tire ever so slightly with 2 things, your clutch and your throttle. Something I forgot to mention, we are not going to compress, we are not going to use our brakes, it's just the throttle and clutch, okay? So I'll start my bike up here. So I'm going to have my left foot planted solid on the ground. I'm solid in my arms and my shoulders. I'm sitting in the middle of my bike, okay? I got my right foot hovering that back brake, and I'm on my right peg. So power clutch up is just the drive with the throttle and releasing that clutch quick, okay? And this is what I mean. So listen to my bike. So I got higher RPMs, finding that clutch, okay? See how it wants to go? And I'm just gonna lift that tire. It wasn't big, was it? You don't need it to be big. So no brakes, no compression, and just quick on the throttle and the release. Okay? I like this hump. My humps, my lady humps. So you can see here as I keep moving, I keep trying to find those humps and those divots that I can put my back tire in, because again, it's hard for me to find my footing. So always be searching when it comes to finding areas to do your clutch pops. If you're anything like me and you like to listen to your bike, that is one way. It is going to sound loud and aggressive when you are doing a power clutch up. I'm sure you heard that when I'm doing it. That's how it's going to sound, right? Especially if you have a 150 or a smaller bike. On the 300s or the 250s, it's not going to be as aggressive. It's just with our little bikes, we need to drive more power into that back wheel. And so that's why we're loading our clutch to drive that back tire and to lift that front tire. That's just kind of how we got to do things with these 150s. At least that's for me anyways. So you might notice there I got like an inch, half inch, 2 inches, which is great. This is a maneuver or a technique that you might need to use in the trails when you can't compress your forks, you can't use your brakes, and let's say you're stuck in a boulder field and you're going uphill. This is actually a great example because I just did that. I got stuck. My dirt bike was going one way on this boulder field on an uphill, and I had to go more right, and because my bike was pointing left, I had to stop and control my bike and get it over to pick my line to make sure I get over onto the trail safely and I don't get it myself into a tree or loop my bike out. So doing that technique, lifting my tire slightly inch by inch, it took me a few times to get my tire over. But let me tell you, once I got it over into the right line that I wanted to take, I was able to get out of that boulder field smoothly and safely. It was the coolest thing that I ever done. So that's going to be a technique that you can use when it comes to trail riding. I guarantee you're going to use that technique. All right. Now that you've got your power clutch up, you've demonstrated that a few times and you're getting a lift every single time, then you're ready to do a regular clutch up, and that's where you compress the forks. These are your forks. If you didn't know, no judgment, but these are your forks. So we're going to compress our forks. We're also going to apply both brakes. Some people don't do this, but I like to do it because, again, I am a smaller, shorter rider. I'm going to need all of that effort, all of that energy driving my forks down because I can't do it with my arms, right? Like this is all arms. Is my forks even moving? No. Okay. But if I squeeze my brakes in, did you see a little bit of a drive down? I'm compressing my forks. So this is going to be a technique or a skill drill for you to do without turning your bike on. Sit on your bike. You want to sit in the groove of your seat, like in the middle. Have that front foot hovering over your back brake and resting on that peg. Have your left foot planted, you're solid. Have your arms out, attack position, elbows up, looking forward. And I'm going to drive those forks. I'm going to compress them. And what I mean is I'm going to squeeze all of my brakes, right? My back brake is down, my front brake is in, and I'm going to scooch in to the gas tank when I compress, okay? So watch my bike. I don't even know if I'm doing anything here. I hope that it's moving for you. It doesn't feel like it's moving too much. All right, so do that a couple times. Get the feeling of compressing, and then on the rebound, when the tire comes back up, so rebound is when after you compress, you come back up, right? That's when you want to release everything. Release the clutch, release the brakes, and that will lift your tire up as you slide your butt back. Again, we're taking the weight off of that front tire to lift it up, okay? So do that without your bike on. Compress, come back. Compress, come back. Scooch that butt to the gas tank, compress back. Here's another tip. Create a song for yourself when you're doing these drills. I remember us taking a clinic. I remember Crystal, it was Crystal Love's moto, Crystal Levesque, and she said, you know, to get your butt back. And then I started singing, you know, compress, clutch in, release booty back, something like that. So you can create some songs so that you can mentally prepare, get the motion, the repetitiveness, everything's gonna flow and steady. And then you can also start to visualize too when you're off the bike. And also when you're doing this, you wanna compress. When your bike is on and you come back off that rebound, that's when you wanna throttle as well, okay? So twist that throttle. Compress, squeeze, and out. All right, so do that a few times. So we're gonna take all of these points and we're gonna turn on our bike and we're gonna apply all of these techniques to drive that bike and do the clutch pop. All right, so I have my bike on. I have it in first. That is gonna be the best gear that I wanna do these clutch ups with. All right, I'm in my attack position. I have my elbows out. I am flat-footed with that left foot. Oh, it feels oh so strong and controlled. I got my front foot hovering over that back brake. And I'm gonna twist the throttle to get the RPM, okay? I'm gonna find that engagement. Oh, too high. You can listen to your bike. Oh, mosquitoes are coming out. Listen to your bike. Okay, got it. I'm gonna squeeze the brake, compress, and up. This is a slow release on that clutch. I'll show you again. That's a slow release where you let it go, let it out slowly. Load that clutch. Compress. Bring it down. All right, so now I'm going to demonstrate a quick release. Okay, so I'm going to load that flywheel, find my engagement. Let's listen. There we go. Quick release. So what I'm doing here is I'm releasing my clutch as fast as I can, but I'm pulling it back in so I don't continue looping my bike out, okay? Find that flat foot. Oh, it feels oh so nice. Loading that clutch. There. Let's do it again. There we go. You can start to play around with it too. If you're getting comfortable with lifting that tire, you can try to wheelie it out, right? From this position. Let's see if I can. Woo! Nope. Load that. Go too much. Find that Alright, so do that a couple times. You want to get used to the sound of your bike. I know that was something I really struggled with when it came to getting those higher RPMs and loading my clutch. You want to start with a steady throttle to lift that tire when it comes to these types of bikes. Like I mentioned, if you're riding a 300, especially a 300, you don't necessarily need to load your clutch. But I find having the 150, because I need that power to drive that wheel up, it's such a useful hack. And eventually you can do it without loading your flywheel or loading your clutch. But for right now, to take out that frustration and to take out the discouragement, do it that way. Get the RPMs going and find that clutch engagement and pop the clutch. And you can do a slow release where that clutch pop will carry you, or you can do a quick release where it gets that wheel right up. I'm sure you saw that a couple times too, as I'm showing you that I can drag that clutch pop out and I can ride for a little bit longer, or I drive it up high and I bring it back down. The reason why we want to learn a clutch up is because sometimes we stop right in front of a log, we panic, pull in the clutch, and we're kind of figuring out how we're going to get over this log. Well, because you're at a stop, you can practice this clutch up, put your foot down, and drive that wheel up and over. Now again, you don't need to lift your tire up high to get over a log. But if you can at least get you know, 1 inch to 2 inches to drive that front tire into the log, and you continue with that steady throttle to get over the log, then boom, you've just done a clutch up in the woods while you're riding. And it is one of the best techniques to start to get into the habit with your riding, because you can apply this with wheelies. It wasn't until I learned how to load my clutch and figure out my timing is when I started to do my slower wheelies. And of course, there's way more to it when it comes to a wheelie, but this is going to be your foundation, is learning a clutch up. Remember, it's all about seat time. It's all about practice. Now, there are many ways to do a clutch up. I understand that. A lot of people actually do the throttle in the compression and let off the throttle on the rebound. And that's the goal that we want to get to. But for right now, this type of clutch up that I'm showing you are just about timing, and it's about understanding your bike better. It's about understanding the clutch, and it's about understanding the throttle. Once you get that dialed, then you can start implementing other ways of doing a clutch up. But for right now, let's focus on this until we get it. And remember, just have fun, play around with it. What I'm sharing with you might not work for you. And I'm not saying that my way is the highway. It's just something that I've been working on, and I'm still learning on my journey of a clutch up. Now, if you have a fear of lifting your tire high, I totally understand that. That's something that I had to work through. I actually have a video that you can check out over here next. And I talk you through on how to break down all of your fear on getting over lifting that tire high in the air to do a log hop, or heck, even doing a clutch up. Take those tips and apply it to your riding to get used to seeing that tire in the air, because I know that's one of your biggest fears, because it was mine. I believe that taking these steps makes us a better rider and a more comfortable rider and a controlled rider. So please go check that out. And as always, keep killing it safely. And I'll catch you guys next week on the other video. Bye. Want to be higher? No. Compress. Woo! Compress. Up.